Hi, everybody. I'm Kay Helm, and this is the Your Voice podcast. Find your voice, tell your story, change the world. Each week, I interview someone about the way in which they live or tell their story, and I hope you find each episode not only inspiring, but also helpful in a practical way. This week, my guest is Emeka Nnaka. Emeka's passion and mission is to inspire, empower, and unite others in drawing out the masterpieces of their lives regardless of their circumstances. He's a motivational speaker, leading advocate for individuals with physical challenges. He brings a message of determination, inspiration, and hope. Emeka, welcome to the show.
Hey, go ahead, Cal. K, glad to be here. Might pre-snap that.
I'm doing all right.
How are you today?
We're got a nice sunny day here and enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've got a 67-degree day here, so it's perfect. It's a perfect day today. I think, we're finally getting this thing recorded, seeing as how you had the stove mishap last time, but I'm a firm believer that perfect timing, we're doing everything in the right time when we're supposed to do it.
I'll take that. I got a chance to meet you at the Launch Out conference last year. August, got to hear you speak and was just knocked out by you talked about hope, you talked about building your own culture. You have obviously given those things, like when you talk about hope, when a lot of people talk about hope, it's like this cloud, there's not really a substance to it. It's kind of this floaty thing that it's not tangible. But when you talk about it,
yeah,
it's tangible.
That is something that, I'm in the last semester of my master's degree here at the University of Oklahoma. And in this last couple of months that I've been here, hope has been the thing that I've been trying to study. One of my professors here, his name is Dr. Chan Hellman. He has been researching hope over the last 7 years. And it's amazing how him and I connected, because he was teaching a class on positive psychology, and he started talking about hope. And he said something. He was like, I'm just a researcher. I research and I can crunch numbers. I don't get up, and I can't get up and talk about hope or talk on a stage about it. And I just remember being in class, and like in my spirit, it was just like, oh, but I can't. This is what I am supposed to do, because as a speaker, as someone that people come up and say, you're an inspiration, or, something you said inspired me. I used to always leave a talk or leave a group in which I just, hung out with for a while. Like, what did I give them? What is that? Why does someone feel this or feel that way? And when I started studying hope, it was like, oh, that's it. You essentially giving someone hope that, like for me, hope comes in a lot of different ways. You can give someone hope for a lot of different things. And for me, with my background, I guess for your audience, I'll give them my story in a nutshell. I moved to Tulsa in 2007 to go to school. And while in school, I joined a semi-professional football team here in the state and was playing well. It became the thing that was going to carry my life. School was not necessarily my forte. I was not the greatest student. I racked up a lot of expensive Fs. I changed schools where I racked up a lot of cheaper Fs. And I was struggling very much so in the academic world. And when I found football, it was the thing that I was now able to use to make my family proud. It was now a vehicle that was going to take me to the next level, a level of success in life. And so I played and was on my way. And if you've ever been in a place where you find yourself at the door of opportunity, feeling like this is it, I'm about to walk through and everything changes. That was where I was at in 2009.
Great place.
Um, Great place. And I was in the best shape of my life. Got calls to come different places and go different places. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this was it. My life is on the verge of
Mhm.
changing for the better. And in a game in Arkansas, on a play I've made 100 times over, I go and I make a tackle and something just doesn't feel right. I go down and my teammates are asking me to get up, and I'm telling them to give me a second. And after a couple of seconds, it was very apparent that something just wasn't right. So trainers are out there and they're assessing the situation. I can hear them speaking and yelling back and forth to each other saying, I think it's C5, I think it's C6.
Oh man.
And at that time I had no idea what they were even talking
Right.
about. And so if things couldn't get any worse, they do. Because about 10 minutes into this whole ordeal, my breathing starts to change
Oh
and
my goodness.
I can't catch a breath. And I've got pads that are tightened to my chest. I got a helmet on, and I just ran down the length of a football field. And then it is just chaos right now. And now I'm struggling to breathe, uh, finally get a pace in my breathing. Uh, to make a long story short, ambulance gets there. They stretch me up, and we go to the hospital where I would find out C5, C6 was the level in which I had just broken my neck.
Mm.
And from that point, I underwent a 9-hour neck surgery the next day. And they explained to me that I had just suffered a spinal cord injury,
Oh.
and I was paralyzed from my chest down. And to be 21 years old, to be at that precipice that I was speaking of knowing that my life was about to change for the better, and to have this, I can't even call it a roadblock, to have this bridge completely blow up in my life. And at that point, I mean, at the point in which my life was peaking, to have this happen then was devastating, to say the very least. And so I would come back to Tulsa um, and begin this process of rehabilitation. And it reminds me of Humpty Dumpty. You know, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's men and all the other people couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I felt like Humpty Dumpty. It was just like, how do I even begin to piece back a life that has just blown up? How do I even begin to create a vision for myself or cast a vision for myself amidst the darkest moment of my life?
Right. Yeah.
And this is, I never knew what, a true sense of what hope was until I lost all of it.
Say that again, because that's really a powerful statement.
And it's so true. I never knew what hope was until I lost all of it. And it's interesting because, honestly, with my accident, I was very naive to what had happened. I didn't consider, that this was going to be a journey that I was going to be on for a significant amount of time. I honestly felt like, okay, people break their necks all the time. I'm going to wear a neck brace, and life is going to, after a while, I heal, I move on. If anyone is listening has ever been to the hospital or been to your doctor's office, even you have the sense of, if, I'm going to see you for a reason. You are in place for a reason. I go to the hospital, I'm broken, you fix me. I'm hurt, you heal me. So I'm coming to get what I pay you for. And that was no different for me going to the hospital. They tell me, for me, everything in my life made sense. I go down on the football
Mm-hmm.
field, so you call the ambulance. That makes sense. You tell me I break my neck, I'm having neck surgery. That makes sense. I am going into physical therapy because I
Mm-hmm.
can't walk right now. That makes sense. After 3 months of intensive rehabilitation, and I tell you that I attacked rehab like I did football. It was just like doing 2-a-days. Get
It's
up,
like, man, let's just get this done, right?
let's get it done. The light at the end of
Right.
the tunnel is getting out of this
Mm-hmm.
hospital. Let me work. Move out of my way. Let me work. And hard days, hard days, and trying to do things that for 21
Mm-hmm.
years I say jump, my body jumps, walk, it walks, and now what I'm telling my body to do is not
Right.
doing what my mind knows it can do. It was very hard, and I'll tell you the first time that nothing made sense was when I am approaching 3 months of being in rehab, and this doctor walks in and is essentially telling me that the time that I have spent at the hospital is running up and that they are
Mm-hmm.
about to discharge me. Um, I can tell you that that was the first time that in my life that nothing made sense because everything, everything that I did was to get out of the hospital.
Right.
Everything that I did was to walk out of the hospital, not be wheeled out of it. And here this doctor is telling me that they've done everything they can do, and I am now released to go back to my quote unquote life.
So you're like, but wait, we're not done.
I'm like, what life? Like what this is
Yeah.
not the life that I've known for 21 years. What do you mean go back to life? There's no going back right now. If if you're telling me that I've done all I'm supposed to do in this place, then there's no going back because I'm not I'm not the same. I'm not going back to my life. You're
Mm-hmm.
throwing me into a new life. I'm being thrust into a
Yeah.
different life. And so um, I get out of the hospital, and so that would begin 7 months of sheer darkness, of sheer just
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty, fear, um, being perplexed, just a host of emotions that just made, uh, I want to say, it just made living really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because on top of this, when I got hurt, the news everywhere picked it up. Um, it was all over local news, and
Mm-hmm.
so when I came back to Tulsa, it was the story. It was the thing that all of my friends knew. My family had come out to Tulsa. Everyone knew, and so when they brought me back in the ambulance, it was to fanfare. It was to crowds of people welcoming. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was in the hospital, it was people visiting, people bringing food, people, hey, do you want me to, can I sit with you? Can I help out in any way? It was great. And me being um, extreme extrovert, thriving off people, those were good times. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you would not have known by my demeanor that I was going through what I was going through when I was in the time that I was in the hospital. When I got to the hospital, in my mind, again, I have people break their necks. I am going to, uh, do some rehab, and I'm going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sneaking my dogs into the hospital. I'm flirting with all of my nurses. Like, I'm having a good time in the hospital.
Right.
And then again, I get out. And at this point, and that in the time in the hospital, everyone's life around me paused. my life, my friends' life, family's life, strangers' lives. And then after 3 months, people got to go
Mhm.
back to school. People got to go
Mhm.
back to work. People got to go back to their lives. And it felt like I was just stuck,
I get you.
stuck stuck in a place that I had not, there's no way I could prepare to be.
Mhm.
Stuck in a place that I didn't know, I didn't know where to go and how to go, just stuck. And it was, again, some of the hardest times because it's not even, it's one thing, it's a one level of loneliness when you feel like you're by yourself, that there aren't people around. And then it's another level of lonely when you look in the mirror and you don't even like the person that you see there. And I was struggling with a lot of self image issues, um,
Mhm.
a lot of just not being proud of the man that I was at the time and feeling like I was not, just really not liking anything about myself physically,
Mhm.
spiritually, emotionally, socially. It was just, it was a fire sale on myself. And, everything was in jeopardy.
Yeah.
People think that, most people will look and say, man, that is one heck of a physical battle. And it's like, no, this was every bit whole,
Everything.
everything, whole body, whole person, whole spirit. It was everything.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah, everything. So,
It's powerful. Yeah. It's a hard place to be for sure.
it was then that I realized, yeah, that it's crazy because people ask me, whereas I ever depressed, and I was never. I I say that I was never like clinically depressed because I tried to maintain in good spirits, but I was watching a movie, and in the movie it defined depression as the inability to construct a future. And by that definition, I was depressed. Like
Gotcha.
I could not construct a future from the place that I was at. Um, and it because and I know why now, being able to look back, um
Mhm.
because it was very hard. um I can say that it is because, what's interesting is, like, now in the place that I'm at now, I'm in a much better place. And I think I was giving a speech somewhere, and a lady asked me, to think she had saw me like reach and, drink a bottle of water, and she had asked me, was it hard to learn how to do the things that I do now? All of the new
Mhm.
things, whether it's driving or, um, eating, drinking, living, was it hard to do that? And I stopped and I said, yeah, like it was hard to relearn how to do all these different things that have to do with life. But what
Mhm.
was even harder was letting go of the way that I used to do them before.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And I can look back and tell you that in those darkest moments, in that time in which I felt like I couldn't build a future, it's because I was struggling to let go of a life that was. And in doing that, I couldn't embrace a life that is, and I couldn't create a vision for a life that could be. And so
Mhm.
it really was all, you know, intertwined. It's letting go to grab something different. Um,
Right.
and we're so, as human beings, we don't want to let go. We don't let go of anything. Someone says
Mhm.
something negative to us, and we hold on to that forever. You
That's
know,
true.
your life circumstances are pushing you into a new season of life, and we don't want to let go of this old season because it's been comfortable, because it's safe. And sometimes life is going to say like, yo, no, it's time. It's time to shed the cocoon. It's time to fly.
Yeah.
And so as I kind of stumbled through the dark, trying to figure out what I was doing, who I was, I was really blessed to be in a position, in a place in where the community really had some great supports. And so I was able to I found a place that I would go work out. It's called the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges. And there gave me a lot it gave me a lot. Because I went there thinking that I was going to work out and do some physical rehabilitation. And what happened was that when I got there, I'm surrounded by people with different abilities, different things that, different challenges that they're walking through. And where I was struggling to see myself for who I was now, they did not struggle to see me at all. I kept seeing a guy in a wheelchair. They kept seeing Emeka. And
right. Okay.
that helped me in a sense to then see Emeka and start to do the work to get back to who I am and not limit myself to what has happened to me. I am not what's happened to me. And so in part with that, I began to serve at a local youth group, and just speaking to kids. And I did not realize just how much they would feed me. I didn't realize just how much pouring out of myself would pour back into me, because I think at that time in my life, I was walking around purposeless. Like it felt like my life had ended and I had no purpose. And when I found myself in a place where I was able to serve this youth group, it was like, okay, you know what? Life is not over. There's still meaning. And so those two things coming together at the time in which they did, where I've got people that are seeing me for who I am. So I'm looking beyond my circumstances, and I'm now giving back, and I'm living beyond my circumstances. It was doing something for me, something more for me that I couldn't even have expected. And so with that, it's almost, it's taking one step at a time. It is relearning how to walk in life. And essentially think about a baby. A baby, when a baby learns how to walk, it's all a baby is trying to do is learn the right balance between left and right. It's take one step with the right, one step with the left, fall down, get back up, change it up a little bit, take another step, take another, fall down, get back up, and just try to figure out the right balance. And so it is with life. Life is going to knock each and every one of us down. And what we need to do is make sure we can find the right balance between left and right, no matter what it looks like, and get our stride back. And so serving for me, and doing some internal work, some hard internal work, where I'm asking some hard questions, seeing some hard answers, and really facing some things. In doing so, I started to kind of get a balance and get a left and right, get a left and right, get a left and right. And opportunities began to open up. And so I went back to school. I got my undergrad degree in rehabilitation services. And what's insane is that, remember, education was not my forte. Again,
Right.
not my thing, and not school was not something that I wanted to ever really do again. And I knew, but I at this point in my life, I knew that if I was going to add value to anyone, to add value to this world, that I needed to make sure that I added value to myself. And so education for me was an avenue for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to school, and now currently I am in the last semester of my master's degree at the University of Oklahoma, which is insane. Because if I were talking to 21-year-old self saying like, "Yo, bro, we're gonna get this degree, we're gonna get this master's," and I would have looked at myself like I was crazy. And so it's crazy that I'm here
Yeah.
now, despite the challenges. I feel truly blessed, and I know that my future now is as bright as it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a great outlook, and you share your journey, like you just did, but you share that in schools.
Hmm.
You're sharing it with other folks that are going through life changes.
And so to bring it full circle with hope,
Mm-hmm.
um, I tell you that so when I started to find myself again, the one thing that I realized is that I love people. And when I stopped being shy about my struggles, it allowed me to get back to who I was as a person. And anyone will tell you that I will just go, I'll talk to anyone. If I see you um, sitting by yourself, I'm gonna go and say what's up. If I were at the store, I will strike up conversation with my cashier. I will make a
Mm-hmm.
friend anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized that my personality had taken a hit because I was so scared to do that after my accident because I didn't want people to look at me. I didn't want people to stare. And that was because I was kind of staring at myself. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and so people will only treat you people can only treat you the way you show them how to treat you. And if I am so self-conscious about my chair, what makes me think that someone else isn't going to be self-conscious about it? And so I
Mm-hmm.
made a conscious effort that once I began to see myself, that I'm gonna make you see Emeka too, and you're not gonna
Right.
see a guy in a wheelchair. And
Right.
so as I began to be, my charismatic self, it allowed people. What it did was it allowed people to open themselves up a little bit more to not be scared to ask. So, you mind if I ask, like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just share, like, hey, I got injured playing football, that this is where I was, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. And,
Mm-hmm.
more and more people would ask because I was around more and more people. And then I began to just share with more and more uh, kids and people. And, youth has always been a passion of mine. And so people were responding to how I carried my burden or how I
Mm-hmm.
carried the load because it's not the weight that kills you; it's how you carry it that really makes you buckle.
Yes. True.
And so I really began trying to show people how to carry a quote unquote burden. And I can say that I don't know. In my life, just the way it's all played out, I thoroughly have just wanted to live my best life. And no matter what comes, because I think a lot of people, what happens is a lot of people might see me and see the chair and think that, wow, this sucks that oh, I don't know if I could do that. Cause this is what happens. People impose what their own, like, they put themselves in my position. They think I could never do that. And that is what to them is inspiring, because only thing that it's, what being inspired is you seeing someone do something that you don't think that you could do.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think anyone couldn't do this. I just think that I thoroughly believe that we are all stronger than we think we are. It's just all that matters is you just haven't put yourself, you're not in a place where you have been tested in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to undergo this test, I just wanted to make sure that I can live my life in such a way that allows an individual to take a look at their circumstances and say, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. Because at some point, I had to tell myself, like, all right, you're here. Like, you can't, there's nothing, like, it is what it is. You can either, fight or flight. You better, do something. And so I chose to do something. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone say that responsibility defined as responding with ability. And
That's
so I
good.
wanted to take responsibility for my life and respond with ability to it. And so I stopped looking at all the different things that I couldn't do and started to look at all the things that I could do. Because I was bogging myself down with the negativity of, like, oh, I can't walk, I can't play football, I can't do this, I can't do that. And at some point, I just had to stop and say, like, okay, what can I do? Because
Mm-hmm.
this is um, this is the only life that I get. It's the only life that I get. And so that's what it really sparked my going back to school. That's what sparked my
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, speaking into the lives of young people. That's why I don't believe in just chance encounters. Everyone that I meet is a person that you can have a cataclysmic impact on, because you just never know. You just never
Right.
know. And so our lives are filled with people who have come in and left a mark on us that goes to be a part of the masterpiece that we are living.
That's good. You tell the story on your website about an art project that you thought was messed up,
Oh yeah.
and so you just reminded me of that.
So art has an interesting place in my heart, because like, again, what inspires us is when we see something that we don't think that we could do. And art has always been one of those things that's like, oh, that's cool. It's super cool because I can't do it. And at
Right.
the gym that I was at, the art teacher there, she had mentioned the turn of the new year had came, and I was looking for something different. I work out. I wanted to do something, like an athletic and or something different. And she had mentioned the art room, and I was like, maybe. And so she gave me a time. I came in. She gave me a picture. I painted it, and it came out really well. And then I started painting another picture, and it was this landscape,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful mountain landscape, and I had no idea how to even start it, much less finish it. But I put paint to paper, and somewhere close to the beginning, I have this paintbrush and I sneeze, and it puts a long mark all the way through the paper. And I'm ready. I'm like, oh, I messed up. I'm ready to, gotta get a new piece of paper and start over. And everyone is looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, hey, I messed up.
Oh. Uh
I
oh.
need a new piece of paper. And they're like, oh no, you don't mess up. There are no mistakes in art.
Ah.
Um, and they're like, yeah, there are no mistakes. You just paint, you paint over it. And it taught me such a huge lesson, because it's like there are no
Yeah.
mistakes, just like there are no mistakes in art. You just paint over. There are no mistakes in life. If you work on it long enough and hard enough, every mess can be turned into a masterpiece. And
That's huge.
that is how I want to inspire people, because I think a lot. of people are dealing with shame. Shame is a huge thing right now with human beings because when we mess up, we think that we are a mess up. We don't just take it for what it is and say, you know what, I'm gonna work on this thing. We
Mm-hmm.
think we ourselves are broken and therefore we cannot be restored. And so I want to help people live their best life. Again, I want to help people not just, identify a mess in their life. I want people to identify, embrace it, and make, take action steps to make it into a masterpiece. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's, the ups, the downs, the good, the bads. It's what gives life color. It's what makes life itself a masterpiece. If I painted a thing with just one color, you just see one thing of red or one thing of blue or one thing of black. Like it wouldn't. There is no picture. It'd be boring.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when I add colors, when I add, that's when you start to see the different shades. That's what brings out the light. This is what brings out the positives. This is what brings out the highlights, the lowlights. Like all of it works together. And so when we can
Mm-hmm.
start to shift and to see our quote unquote negatives in a different way, there, it's what negatives are what develop to give us pictures. When we can start seeing them in
That's
a
true.
different way, we can start seeing beautiful pictures in our lives.
That's true. That's powerful. And that's something everybody can apply too. I mean, we've all got marks on our paintings.
Hmm.
And we put some of them there. We other people have put some of them there. We've just had random spills. We've, no matter how that mark gets on our painting, so to speak. Taking that, like you said, you are here. Had another guest a few weeks ago, Matt Ham, talked about his "you are here" moment.
Really?
This is you're here. I don't
Yeah.
like where I'm at, but I'm still here.
And that's something. That's one of the talks that I've give is about direction. Direction begins with reflection, and it
Mm,
is that you are here moment that is the can be the greatest day for anyone's life because you can't know where you're going unless you know where you are. And so
right.
it is that moment for me, I think that you are here moment was just realizing just when I realized that my problem was that I was trying to hold on to football and
Mm-hmm.
football wasn't coming back. At least it wasn't coming back in the way that I thought it was coming back. And that is like, okay, you are here. Okay, if it sucks, it sucks. If and that's the thing. I think people think that it's wrong to say that something sucks. Like, no, embrace the suck. Like, embrace it. Like, it's okay to not be okay
Yeah.
sometimes. And again, we guilt ourselves because it's like I feel bad that I'm not here. Then I feel bad for feeling bad. Then I feel bad for feeling bad that I feel bad. And it's just this cycle that keeps going on
Yeah.
and on and on. And it's like, no, embrace it. Like embrace it, but then recycle that. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't let that anger, that bitterness, don't let that sadness become internal because it's the internal bleeding that will kill you. It's
That's
if
good.
you hurt, cool. What superstar singers don't we know that go through heartbreak and they recycle that pain into a great album that
Yeah.
helps the world? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's recycled pain, and so we just have to figure out a way as individuals how can we recycle the pain that is not only uh, it's that how do we recycle the pain that's inevitable? You know what I mean? Like none of us escape this life unscathed. We are
Right.
all going to face something somewhere. I know that I'm not done facing obstacles. They're coming. I think Les Brown said, "You're either um, in something, coming out of something, or on your way to something." Like Life unfolds just like that. And so I think, right, I think when people are, well, when, I want to give people the tools to use perspective and the tools to use framework to make life work for them.
Yeah, it's good. Let's circle back around to hope.
Okay.
I mean, and you're touching on that now.
Hmm.
But when we started, like I said, the thing that stood out to me was that hope to you is not this intangible
Yes,
cloud. It's not a cloud. It's more of a rock. It's more of a solid, tangible thing.
absolutely.
And you're obviously been using your story to connect people with hope, and it's in that finding
Framework.
yourself, telling your story, all of that, making that hope tangible.
So
What you get to say?
with hope, again, like you said, hope is not. It's not. I'm in a. I'm trying to redefine what hope is for people because there is a meme that I've seen that says hope is not a strategy. And with after what I tell you now, I believe that
Mm-hmm.
most people are going to believe that hope is a strategy. And so I have been studying hope along with my professor, and there's a man named Charles Snyder who came up with a theory of hope. And his theory of hope states that hope is comprised of three elements. It is goals, pathways, and agency. And let me explain that for you. It is one, it's a cylindrical thing. They all work hand in hand. But one is having a goal that's um, somewhat attainable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be born um, with no legs or something like that, and say I'm gonna be an NBA player. So
Right.
it's having some goals that are attainable, having the pathways to attain those goals,
Mm-hmm.
and having the agency, meaning the grit, the willpower, uh, to get through those, to get through it, to get to your goal. And so when all three of these things are clicking, you essentially have a person that is high in hope.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you may have one area that's not, and you have a person that's low on hope. For example, if my goal is to have a TV show, and my pathways to do so are, I'm working. If I go to work at this news station, that's a pathway. I've got friends that are in the TV industry. That's a pathway. Um, I'm going to move to California or New York. That's a pathway.
Right.
So I've got these different pathways to attain this goal. Do I have the agency? Do I have that perseverance that when I lose this job, that I still keep my eyes on the prize? When this thing doesn't work for me, do I still have the perseverance to get through it? If you do, if you have the personal agency to get through, to
Mm-hmm.
overcome, and you have the pathways to get to your goal, you are. It is easy to say that you are very hopeful that you are going to have your own TV show, that you
Mm-hmm.
are going to have what you want. But if you lack the perseverance, if after one failure you say you quit, I mean, having a TV show is not really hopeful for you.
Yeah.
If all of your eggs are in one pathway bucket and that
Right.
pathway shuts, you're going to lose hope. If you haven't really created the right goals, if you haven't created the right goals and you get to the goal of having a TV show and you're not fulfilled, I mean, you might lose hope. And so,
Mm-hmm.
even what I've asked people is like, what if you are super hopeful that you're going to be somebody, that you
Mm-hmm.
are going to make a difference in this world, and your pathway to doing so was playing football? What do you do when you break your neck on a football field and that pathway shuts? Um, because you had You had the agency to do the 2-a-days. You had the agency to get up in early mornings and work out, to
Mm-hmm.
sweat, to bleed, to cry those tears. You had all the agency, but this pathway is shut. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my studies, I found that individuals that are high on hope are individuals that are able to create multiple pathways. There are individuals that are able to um, adjust, and you need, if you are going to sustain hope, you need to be able to create other pathways,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
because it is not there is not just one way to. I don't know why we say skin a cat. I don't know who started the whole. I don't want to skin a cat.
Yeah, it is kind of a strange.
I don't want to skin a cat, and I don't want to find any other ways to skin a cat. But there are multiple ways to get to the things that we want in life. And
Yeah.
I remember doing a study on a guy who wanted to. He went to. It was a not just a guy. It was a study on um, with some soldiers, and a guy had went into the army wanting to be something like a uh, superhero, and he wanted to, he wanted to serve his country, but he wanted to be like this machine of a guy. And to him, going to the army was his goal. And he did all of the basic training, he did everything. And he got into the army and he realized for himself that the army is not this isn't what he wanted to do. In the army, you're like a pawn. You know what I mean? You follow orders. The orders come from the Pentagon, Washington, and you execute those orders. You're not just
Right.
doing your own thing. And in seeing his whole life up on a board, and his dreams and his hopes and the pathways and his agency, and just in rearranging some of that, what we realized and what we found was that the army was not his goal. What his goal was to be this thing of a ultimate soldier, an ultimate protector, this guy that could save people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the army was just a pathway for that. The army was the
Gotcha. Yeah.
pathway. The army wasn't the goal. The army was the pathway. And so when you begin to see, change how you see things, people might, and people are doing things like this all the time where you are in a job right now that you're unhappy with because you think that the job that you're working at right now is, you know, having this job is the goal. When the job that you have probably isn't, it really isn't your goal, but it probably is a pathway for you to fund your goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you view it like that, that
That's
gives
a
you,
part of it.
yeah, it's a part of it, and it gives you a little bit more like, you know what? Oh, okay, this isn't, this thing isn't the end all be all. This thing is just a way that I need to use to get to my ultimate goal. It now
Yeah.
gives you agency. It now gives you this sense of a new fight, a new will. And the reason why this hope thing is so important to me as well, and this framework, it speaks for me for social justice as well, because I'm huge in social justice, and I'm all about removing barriers, because we've all heard that where there's a will, there's a way, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
meaning if I'm in this room and I want to knock this, I want to get through this door, I'm going to do everything I can to knock this door down if I have to. But the flip side of that, and the other side of that coin, is where there's a way, there's a will. And so, if I'm sitting in here and I have no desire to, I want to get on the other side, but I have no desire to knock the door down. And so now I'm sitting in here, but if you open the door, it's now giving me some will to walk through it. I may not want to knock the door down, but if it's open, I'll
Then
walk
you
through.
go. Yeah.
And I watched that happen with me with school because I had no desire to go back to school, none. And an opportunity opened itself up for me
Mm-hmm.
to walk through, and it essentially gave me the will to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to school. And so with this, if I can now take my work and take my life and use my influence to help open doors and remove barriers and essentially start to instill hope in a group of kids or a community, that would let me know that I'm, doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And people can lose hope because they don't have any of those. One of those one of those
Now,
elements, not
if you
elephants,
give me an
is
elephant,
missing.
I'm going to be pretty hopeful. Give me an elephant, I'll be real happy.
Be like, what can we do with this?
Right.
Yeah. So if one of those parts is missing, I'm gonna stay with the small words today. I think one of these parts of hope is missing, or like you said, kind of in the wrong place.
That's what I
Um,
found is that it may
it,
not be
yeah.
missing. It may just be the fact that we have kind of labeled things and put things in the wrong category.
Mm-hmm.
People do it all the time with work. People do it all the time
Yeah. Sure.
with family, with relationships. Because what happens is that I've seen people who will have relationships and they will put fake, they'll put real expectations on fake foundations.
Yeah.
Meaning that you have this people in your life that probably aren't going to be at your bedside when you're when you're on your deathbed, and yet we put these expectations on them as if we want to keep them to we want them to be everything for us, and you lose some people. It makes you feel like you shouldn't have people in your life to begin with. Uh, we lose trust. It's a lot of different things, and really, people. Our ultimate goal is people. This is so. Hear me out here. The ultimate
Mm-hmm.
goal in each and every one of our lives is to serve people. Because whether you're a trash man, at the end of the day, that serves people.
Yeah.
Doctor, teachers, like there's nothing that this world that we do that doesn't come back to the people that we get to be a part, to serve. And so anything that we do, our ultimate goal has to be centered around like serving people, things like that. But and not but we also have to remember as well that there are pathways as well that get us there, that don't necessarily look the way we would expect them to look.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you have and I wish we told more high school kids this because for the most part you got the very few that the people that I went to high school with are my friends till the end. Most of your friends that you probably live on with are like the people you meet in college because you've grown up a little bit, you've grown some,
Yeah.
and uh, I wish we told our kids that people are going to hurt you. They're going to be people that come. They're going to be people that go. They're going to be relationships that are purposeful relationships that they serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when that purpose is done, the relationship itself inevitably will change. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it was in vain. It doesn't mean that it didn't need to happen because again, we all need people. It's the fabric of life is the people that we meet on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lifeblood of this thing that we call life. I'm sorry, I got off on a
That's good.
tangent. I got off on a tangent, but
Well, you're a people
yeah,
person. You really are,
yeah,
and but like you said, it's that connection and serving people, and you connect with a lot of people. I know you speak. I know you speak in schools. You
yes,
do what corporate? You do corporate too.
yes. And so
So
With
Yeah.
corporate, it usually is on just how hope how hope influences positive characteristics in the workplace.
Yeah.
Um, and with kiddos, my kiddos, man, it's everything with them. It's all range because I think right now, whether it's the hair, the chair, kids listen to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to use my influence responsibly to help them understand that again, life is going to happen, and I only tell them what I wish someone would have told me when I was in high school, as far as that, you know, life is going to happen, yes, but you are going to happen as well. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
respond, and you have everything it takes to live your best life. And when it comes to relationships and people and just it, people matter deeply. Like people matter how we see them. And what I have learned is that I get to do right now. I'm interning at youth services, and I get to interact with kids who have been dealt a very very bad hand,
Mm-hmm.
by no fault of their own. And with other people, I can see how they have been somewhat rough with others, and they tough to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not like they're coming from any particular background that has taught them structure. But
Mm-hmm.
when I go into the shelter and when I spend time there and I speak to who they are as individuals, not where they're coming from,
Mm-hmm. Not their
not their
circumstance.
circumstances, so much comes out of them.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because every day I go in and every day I leave, I feel a level of like being I feel fulfilled because I know that today I saw this kid and this kid saw themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
even some of the workers there will ask me like, so how do you handle a kid that is losing it, like is losing his temper? And it's like, one, I let him talk. Like I let him talk, and I
Mm-hmm.
give him the same. I give him the same um, uh, respect. I give him the same acknowledgement that I would want someone to give me. And
Yeah.
it's when you give someone dignity, it's amazing what you get back. You give someone self worth, or you instill self worth. You instill worth in a person. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to give you worth. They're going to give you something back.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
no, this like expectations kind of keeps coming into this. It's what we expect from other people. If I
Hmm.
don't expect a kid to be anything, um, that's exactly what it'll give me. But when you face a kid and let them know that you see something great in them, that you see a future in them, that you see something worthwhile in them, you can begin to draw that
You're
out.
planting a seed, and
That's right.
if yeah, it's seeds making seed. Seed bearing fruit produces fruit. And so if you plant a seed of possibility,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give you possibility. If you plant a
Yeah.
seed of negativity, oh, they're coming right back with the fruit of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really have tried to work on emotional intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
being able to control my own responses to circumstances, to situations, because the same as it is with life, if I plant a seed in myself, if I plant it in my world, I'm going to get it back. And so I try
Mm-hmm.
not to let certain things get me down. And like I said earlier, it's okay to not be okay sometimes, but you
Right.
move on from it. Like the I tell people, if they've imagine standing on a beach and the waves come and it touches your foot, gets wet, and the waves go back.
Mm-hmm.
So it is with these emotions like anger and strife and stress and anxiety. It's like No, you can feel it, but let it wash away
Mm-hmm.
as well. Let it wash
That's
away as
good.
well.
What a great picture. So how does somebody get a hold of you if they want you to come speak, or if they just want to know more about you, connect with you? Where do they do that?
So you can go to my website. I have a contact me page on my website, and that is www.emekannaka.com. I'm sure that you'll have my name spelled correctly and all the
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
But for other individuals, you can also go to www.livebeyondlabels.com, and that reroutes to my website. And on all of the social medias, Instagram, I am Emeka Nnaka. Twitter, it's at Emeka Nnaka, and Facebook, my speaker page is Emeka Nnaka as well.
Great. And we'll have links to all that in the show notes for this episode at yourvoicepodcast.com. And people can find that and connect with you in that way too. Emeka, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And you are inspiring because you connect us really with hope. I mean, I love, like, you open. I was kind of knocked out by your talk, earlier, and then we had talked after you spoke about the way you described that, agency and pathways and things. And so I had been waiting to interview you, and I'm so glad we got to talk about this.
No, I'm glad too. Again, perfect timing.
But so again, I appreciate you being here this week.
Thank you so much. Thank you to you lovely people listening to this, and I hope to connect with you all soon.
This has been the Your Voice Podcast. Make sure you check out the show notes at yourvoicepodcast.com for all the links. And if you enjoy the show, please write a review on iTunes. That helps other people find the show. I'm Kay Helm. Until next time, thanks for listening.